Sunday, we looked at 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, mainly 1st Thessalonians. We looked at the second advent, or the second coming of Christ, really the first phase of it, the rapture and the resurrection, the good news concerning the church. And I hope I didn't communicate that you must have unreserved eagerness and anticipation. But certainly I did want to communicate that you can have unreserved eagerness and anticipation. The reservations that I got on the Connect cards for most people have to do with their lost loved ones. And not only do I understand that, but clearly God does and sympathizes as well, since that matters to him. But anyway, Russ, take us a little deeper into this idea of unreserved anticipation.
Well, what stuck out to me when I was looking over the book of 1 Thessalonians was in chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. Paul said to them, "And you know how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you, as a father does his children, that you would walk worthy of God, who's called you unto his kingdom and glory." I mean, Paul's basically reminding the Thessalonians here that he had urged them, as it says, to walk worthy of God. So I was thinking, okay, how do we walk worthy of God? By living a life that's consistent with the character and teachings of Jesus. What do we do until Jesus returned? For example, John 15:12, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." We all know that verse. We need to imitate Jesus' love. Our love needs to be selfless, sacrificial, and unconditional. Selfless in that it puts others first, regardless of the cost for us. That's what Jesus did when he went to the cross. Sacrificial in that we're willing to go without so that others can have. Jesus gave his life so that we could have life and have it more abundantly. Unconditional in that what we give does not depend on another's worth or perceived worth. The grace offered to us by Jesus' sacrifice isn't dependent on our worthiness, otherwise it wouldn't be grace. So what other attributes? Luke 23:34, "Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know what they do. And they parted his clothes and cast lots." We need to imitate Jesus' forgiveness. Now, our forgiveness is a product of love. Therefore, it's got to exhibit the same attributes. It must be selfless, sacrificial, and unconditional. Also in Luke 22:25-26, "And he said to them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. But you should not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief as he that does serve." We've got to imitate Jesus' humility. You've got to serve others, put their needs first. This is another product of love. The result of humility actually is that, in some ways, I see love as the base attribute that everything else in the Christian life filters down to, but yet the humility that results from love equips us to love thoroughly. So it's kind of circular, and it allows us to exhibit the products of love, such as forgiveness. Those same attributes that we're called to imitate are the same ones that enabled Jesus to go to the cross for us. And that really follows in with the verse we looked at last week, where it talks about Jesus saying, "Pick up your cross, deny yourself, and follow me." So for our grace group verses, I thought we should look at John chapter 13, verses 12-17. This is basically Jesus' example of washing the servants' feet and then telling them, basically, this is my example to you, go and do the same. And there's the usual 5 questions to answer. How would you retell these verses in your own words? What do these verses tell us about God? What do they tell us about people? What life changes should you make as a result of these verses? And who are you going to tell?
Amen. Good stuff. Paul said that he had a crown of righteousness waiting for him. And he said, not only for me, but for all those who love Christ's appearing. And, you're kind of reminding us to love as we wait for his appearing. But if we love his appearing, that will empower us and energize us and motivate us to love each other and even our enemies while we wait for his appearing. So really good stuff. I started quoting Sunday, 1 John 3. I want to read 2 verses here Beloved, now we are the sons of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be or will be, but we know that when he shall appear, we will be like him. Of course, he is love, for we will see him as he is. But then verse 3, and every man that has this hope in himself purifies himself, even as Jesus is pure. So, the coming of Christ is supposed to have a major impact on how I live today. And man, taking up your cross, following him, loving each other, that's where it's at. So thanks for those reminders.